Hey, what's going on, champs? I'm Aaron Deliosa. Welcome to an Immigrants Life podcast, my podcast about immigrants, immigration, and everything in between. In a flash, we are already mid November. How are you guys doing? Hope it's well with you and the family. Before I forget, I'm posting more content on social media, and so far it's getting good reception. So if you want to check that out, follow me on Instagram and Facebook at An Immigrant's Life. Listen to the podcast on YouTube and however you listen to your podcast. Special call out to my Apple Podcast listener. You guys always ask how to help the podcast. This is the best and free way to do so. Give the podcast a 5-star rating and a short and sweet review. It doesn't have to be long as you write something. It could be 5-star, you say, because that's how the podcast gets more reach on Apple Podcasts, by getting tons of rating. So please help us out there. We'd really appreciate it. That's for housekeeping. Now let's talk about the episode. Do me a favor and close your eyes and imagine the epitome of a gentleman. You see him? That's exactly who's our guest today. This guy is one of the classiest people I've ever met. And not just classy, intelligent too. His story is a story of ambition executed through kindness. And I know you'll love it and you love him. So, without further ado, let's get into the show. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Today's guest is as stylish as Giorgio Armani, as good-looking as Lorenzo Riquelme, and a polymath like Leonardo da Vinci. Everyone, please welcome Eugenio Rotondi.
Ciao, everyone. How are you today?
I'm good, my man. You?
That was a very nice introduction. I feel humbled. I don't know if you actually reflect all of that, but thank you so much.
Hells yeah, look at you. You're all dressed up, and while I'm wearing a hoodie over here.
I love dressing up a lot. In fact, I have friends who tease me because even when it snows, I have a jacket and a button shirt. So I think I wear a lot of shirts and a lot of suits. I like to do that. It makes me feel good, and some people don't like it, some people like it. It's fine. It's life. But
Yeah,
I love being myself.
Hey, listen, you're Italian. It's normal.
That's what they say.
You know what I mean? Hey, listen, I love dressing up too, but if I'm home, I'm gonna wear a hoodie or pajamas or whatever else I'm gonna wear. Not like you. You're like, look at you. You're at home. You're all dressed up like this is going to be an interview for the UN or something.
No. Actually, I'm not home. I'm in Marseille today for the weekend because I'm traveling for work. So that's why the only kind of clothes I brought with me are shirts and suits. So
there's still no hoodies. Are you sleeping in your suit?
Pajama, but I didn't think it would have been cool to actually have the interview on a pajama. I don't know.
Well, I'm wearing a hoodie over here.
It's perfectly fine.
No, as long as you're comfortable, that's all I care, man. If whatever you want to wear, I'm cool with that too.
I'm very comfortable dressing well. I've always liked externalizing that part of me on myself. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, people say, why would you dress like that just to go, throw out the trash or something? It's like, it's fine, just.
Don't tell me you wear a suit when you're throwing a trash. Don't tell me that.
No, I don't wear a suit when I throw out the trash. I just, I don't go down with my slippers, that's for sure.
Seriously? You wear shoes just to throw trash?
Yeah. I do. I feel uncomfortable wearing my flip-flops when I go downstairs.
Bro,
I don't know why.
You're a classy person, man. If you see
my brother says so.
If you see me, I'll be wearing my wife's shoes, my kid's jacket, you know what I mean, just to throw trash. Hey, you're going out, man. What you need to wear shoes for?
I don't know. I cannot even justify that. So,
hey, you're a classic guy. I'm trash,
Nah, you're not trash.
I'm just joking. So, Eugenio, before we move on, would you like to promote anything?
No, I just want to say something about the the community that me and my brother were trying to build with the Overseas Dream. This is an initiative that me and my brother started a couple of months ago. People seem to appreciate what we're doing. Basically, just to give you a very brief description of our objective as the Overseas Dream is to create a community where people who are thinking, contemplating, just had the idea probably of leaving their home country and go live somewhere else for professional, academic, or anything else, any kind of reasons, they can find any information they need from people who have had already that experience and who are willing to share that experience. Why one will ask, there are so many of those websites out there that do that. What makes the Overseas Dream unique in what it does, in what it provides? Well, our intent is to actually build content with other expats, immigrants, however you want to define yourself. That's why we do so many spotlights every week, because we know that there might be someone else who wants to have an experience to go, to emigrate, to leave their own country. And I would not be myself the right person to give a suggestion or to share my experience to everyone in front of me. Why? Because I have my own experiences as a person who comes from Montesarchio, was born in Naples. I have my own experiences as myself living, for instance, in the US. So someone coming from another country, from another background, might have a totally different experience. And I will not be able to tell them how they will enjoy, how they will live in another country. So I want to make sure that everyone gets to share their experience, and that whoever you come from, you are able to find that experience that you're looking for, and to find that someone who you feel more linked to, and to understand really what would mean to go to the other country, what will be your experiences there, and what are the good and the bad of that country. Not everything is always golden. I can tell you New York is golden, but if you come from a country and you go there and you have a different experience because of your background, because of the things you like or whatever, it's not going to match. So I want to make sure that everyone gets to share their experience and everyone can profit from it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like for some of the listeners, the Overseas Dream did a spotlight on me. Not that I help or
Yeah.
anything, but they did
You
anyway.
do.
'Cause
You
they're-
do. You
Thank
do.
you.
It's very
Thank you.
important.
Ah,
Yours is a unique experience. Sorry if I interrupt, but yours is a unique experience. Like also the other person that we include on the spotlights. Everyone shared a very, very unique experience. And like sometimes we include some of the questions are the same. We change the question, we adapt the question based on your content, right, on your page. But there are some questions that are the same, and you will just be surprised at how many different responses we've gotten. People sometimes, because I've had that question saying, don't people just tell you the same thing over and over? That's not true. You will get a very different response each time. You know why? Because each of us has very unique experiences, very unique experiences. So, and that's the beauty of it.
yeah, I completely agree. Because I remember when I was starting the podcast, and I had some questions that are pretty much what I like, my go-to questions, and I was like, if I ask the same question over and over again, people might get bored. And one of my friends says, no, because they have a different answer to the same question, and I'm like, yo, that makes so much sense. Exactly what you're saying. I love it.
It's true, 100%. I can attest to it, and I cannot agree with you more on this.
Thank you. So let's talk about Eugenio's origin story. You mentioned that you
Okay.
grew up in Naples, and I'm not even gonna pronounce the name because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna destroy it, like your how I pronounce your name. You say the name and you tell us your origin story.
Okay. I was born in Naples, but I grew up in a small village that is not far from Naples, and it's called Montesarchio. Montesarchio, it's located within the hills of the Campania region, because Italy is divided in regions, and Naples is located in Campania region, and that's where also Montesarchio is. Montesarchio, it's a small village of 15,000 people, around 15,000 people, maybe a bit more now. So I grew up there. It was a very small reality where everyone knows everyone, and yeah. So I would have never thought of leaving home. I did most of my studies in Montesarchio up to the last year of high school, and then I left to the US. In the beginning, I thought I was gonna stay in Italy. I actually tried to apply to the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. I tried to do some. It's what we call in French. They say concours. So it's like trying to get in. It's very competitive, and I got to the last point, and then I didn't get in after preparing so much. So I decided to go to the United States, to New
Wait,
York
you
more
tried to be
specifically.
in the army?
Yeah, I did.
Why?
Well, at the time, I thought that was going. That's what I wanted, actually. I was very convinced about it. It was the second. I was in my junior year in high school, and I really thought I was going to like it. And it's usually this process to get into, because it was an actual academy. It's kind of the equivalent of West Point, but in Italy.
Oh, we have
And
that
you
in the
would have
Philippines too.
one. Okay, so
Mhm.
we have that in Italy, and we have one for each force. So you have one for the army, one for the navy, one for the air force, and also one for what is called the finance guard. So I tried for all of them, and the farthest I got was with the navy. I went to the last step, and that's where I didn't make it. Was very disappointed, but I that helped me also understand what I really wanted. Because at that age, I was more attracted, I realized, to the external image of being an officer rather than what it really means. I didn't really understand that
Mm.
up to the point where I failed in this, and probably it was meant to be that way because it made me really reflect on what I was really supposed to do, and just live in my home country. And so
Mhm.
I left. I was 19, and I went to New York.
Wait,
Uh,
you said you left. Did you tell your parents that you're leaving?
yeah,
How did
yeah,
they
yeah, of
how did
course.
they react?
My parents. One thing about my parents is that they've always been extremely supportive. They, as every child would say, they are the best parents in the world, and that's what I think about my parents because they've been very open to welcome whatever I wanted to do in life, and also to talk about things. They've always been very talkative with us, and the one thing that probably has pushed me the most in my journey outside, and also my brother, is that they trusted me throughout any decision that I took in my life. So they trusted that I would have done good if I would have gone to the US. And
Mm.
so even if my brother already left, he was already living in upstate New York at the time. They still trusted the fact that I could go also by myself, and
Mm.
that's what happened. So they
Wow,
took it okay.
I guess you're a good kid, eh?
I don't know if I really match the definition of a good kid, but I'll
Like
go for that.
goes to school properly, listen to their parents, don't get in trouble. Like me, I get in trouble all the time.
I didn't get in trouble too much in my life, I would say. Um, but yeah, I guess I have a very boring life.
Don't say that. Don't
tends
say
to
it's
be
boring.
it tends to be boring sometimes, I have to say. I don't know, your life, is it boring, or actually is exciting?
Um, when listen, the exciting word could be defined to different things,
Positive or
right?
negative? Let's go for the
Exactly.
positive.
You know, childhood not so good. It was rough. It was really rough.
But that's what builds you, like, so.
Exactly. It built me. After that, my adulthood, phew, man, compared to my childhood, I'm like in heaven. You know what I mean? Like I always tell my friends and my family that like I've reached my goal, my childhood goal.
Mm,
I've reached every one of them. I've reached, and whatever else is gravy. Yeah,
that's what matters, right?
yeah, exactly. So you were a good student. You decided to move to New York. Why New York?
So why New York? That's a big question. There were various factors. The first is that my brother was already in the state of New York. He was not in New York City. He was upstate New York.
Mhm.
The second is there was something that really attracted me about the big city life, probably coming from a small village. I really wanted to experience the big city life. I really wanted to see how tough it would have been and how tough I could have been, in order to really handle the challenge and also the opportunities. I've been always a person who I tend to define myself as a high achiever. So I really want to, every time I've set myself to an objective, I've really tried my best to achieve it. And especially the disappointments such as the academy have pushed me to always go further. So New York, I felt it was that much of a goal to reach for me. And in New York, you feel like there is always a challenge. There is always a new goal you can reach. And I feel that it was really the best experience of my life, the best 5 years of my life. And if I could go back to New York, I would go tomorrow.
So, before we get on other topics, do you adhere to the saying, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere?
Not necessarily. I don't really believe in phrases that tend to encompass everything for everyone. That's also the basis of the overseas dream. It's not the same for everyone. It's not the same for everyone. Like I know very, very strong-minded people who have not made it in New York, but have made it very well in other very tough cities. New York has the recognition also because of the Hollywood imagination that we have of New York and the media portrayal of New York. But New York, it's the toughest city, but it's dependent on the person. Everyone has his own experiences. And, definitely I can make it in New York, but probably I'm not going to be able to make it in some other cities, right? So
Like
I think
Kandahar.
that yeah, oh yeah. I mean, like I don't know if so it's like because also I don't know the city, and I just I would not be able to say that, right? But I know a lot of people who say that, and I tend to have discussions over hypothetical scenarios. So
Yeah, that's just pride, I like ask every time I have someone that is from New York or lived in New York. I always ask that question because I always
what
like
did they say
it's
most of the
very
time?
50-50. 50-50, like you
Okay,
said, and I
so
always
I'm
say
not the
like,
only
oh
one.
no, not you're not the only one. And like I always say, like every time they're like, yeah, it's tough there and whatever, I'm like, yeah, have you lived in Kandahar or anywhere,
Right?
like, you know what I mean? But it's a question that I always like, just busting people's balls, as I say.
It is it really tests the person, right? It's like you have to test the person.
Exactly. So did you move in with your brother or did you find your own place?
No, no. I found my own place. I found my own place because my brother was living upstate New York and he was living in the college dorm. He was attending a community college at the time. So I was living in New York, and more specifically, I lived in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, in the Bay Ridge area.
So how hard was it mentally and physically to live in New York by yourself and new country? And I don't even know how was your English then, if you were fluent then.
Oh, it was kind of bad, my English. I was kind of bad. I never really, I mean, I did speak a bit English, and I thought it was good. But when I got there, it was terrible. Let me tell you, terrible. Like, so it took some time. It was very hard because I didn't understand. Also because you think it's like, especially in Europe, in European countries, you tend to learn more the British English than the American one. There are some differences, especially in the pronunciation. And also, when you go to New York, it's a totally different world because people tend to speak so fast, so fast. Try to go one day in the subway, especially at night, in the New York City subway, and take a train, go, I don't know, to Brooklyn, try to just hear the announcements. The moment that you try to understand the announcements, that's where you start speaking English or understand English. That's where I really got to the level where I was like, yeah, I'm confident about my English now. So like it was very hard. I definitely missed family. You think all the time that you think all the time are you making a mistake? Right? I could have tried again into the academy. I would have been more prepared. So there were a lot of things in my mind. I saw all my peers advancing, me trying to get into a college, and I wasn't able to get into this college at first. I was rejected on multiple occasions from the same college, which then became my actual college. So it was very hard, also because I had to go through this administration, bureaucracy, the visa process, and everything. And it was extremely hard, especially because I couldn't really ask much help, especially back home, because with the English it would have been difficult, and so it was very hard to adapt. But I also that was a time when I discovered myself fully in the hardest time. It was a time where I started to really trust myself, be more confident about myself, and also understand that at the end, if there are no challenges, you're not really living. So you have to have challenges in your life, and especially when you live in a country that is not your own, you will have challenges on a daily basis. So you better adapt to that kind of life and to that stress. It's a kind of stress that you need to be able to handle in a certain way. And if not, there are ways to handle the stress.
Definitely.
But 100%.
So during those dark times and hard times, what kept you going?
The first thing was definitely my goal was to live in New York. And at the time, I wanted to become an attorney in the US. Thing that it didn't happen at the end, but I'll tell you more later why. But yeah, that was my goal. So, and also the fact that I wanted to prove to myself that it was indeed possible, that a kid who grew up in South Italy, could actually go to the US, graduate from a US university and do what everyone else can do, right? You also always compare yourself to others. So, and that's what I told myself. I wanted to live in New York. I wanted to, graduate in law, and eventually I would have wanted to become an attorney. That was my initial objective. So that's what pushed me, and plus also the trust that my family back home had in me, on the fact that I would live outside.
Don't let us down, kid.
I know. That was definite, definite.
So, what was your first reaction when you tasted New York pizza?
That's a very good point. So I would not say that I love. So let me actually say that I love New York pizza, and I'll tell you why. Because for me, that is not just Neapolitan pizza, right? So of course I get angry when not angry, but like I kind of have an argument or a discussion when I hear people telling me, "Oh, this is real Neapolitan pizza," and then they come up with a New York pizza, right? There is a difference for me, right? So for me, New York pizza is very good. It's not Neapolitan pizza, but it's very good pizza. So I think that's where I have a deal breaker, right? For me, I love New York pizza. It's very crusty, especially the dollar pizza. There is various spots which are very good. Why not? Like, I love it. And honestly, I had dinner on that many times. With two slices, $2, you have dinner because they're huge and super thick. So honestly, yes, I love New York pizza.
I love talking to Italians about food. They talk about like it's a piece of art, you know? And there's,
It is a piece of art. It is a piece of art.
it is actually.
But there are limits to it.
Oh, of course, you're gonna see like, I'm not a big fan of pizza, to be honest. But if I taste like a good quality pizza, I'm like, yo, this is the shit. This is the pizza that I like eating, you know? So,
Makes sense.
was there a person that helped you during that time that may help you settle, help you figure out things other than your brother? Was there a person that you met or help you?
Yes, yes, definitely. There was one person in particular. There was so especially in the south of Italy, you had a lot of people who emigrated long time ago. And there was one person in particular. He was very helpful, and he came from the same village as me, and he owned a restaurant. in Brooklyn, and he hosted me in the beginning. He guided me through the system, and also my brother. He guided me through the system, and then also I made a lot of friends in Brooklyn, in New York. It was a continuous meeting people, especially because I thought myself that I was not the person. I was not a very talkative or social person. But in reality, in the time where I was having a challenge, I was being challenged. I did reach out to people very proactively. So that was a time where I made a lot of friends, many Americans, not Italians. So I had a lot of people helping me. You never do everything alone. You need a support system, and you can build a support system when you leave your home country. Reach out to people also in your own village. There might be someone who is on the other part of the ocean who's willing to help you because that person knows what it means to be alone and wants to help you. And that's what happened to me. So definitely, you never do all of this alone, and there are cases, and I truly respect people who make it only by themselves, but you always need help at the end. We all need help. You
Oh
can't
yeah,
do it by
definitely,
yourself.
definitely. I agree. The word is paisan, right?
What?
Paisan.
Uh, ah, that's yeah. Paisan is like, yeah, Italo Americans use that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed. Yes, it's definitely in the dialect. It's a way to, because village in Italian is paese.
Mm-hmm.
So paisan is like basically the person that comes from your same village.
Yeah, we have the same. We have the same too. It's we say kababayan.
Okay, so you have the same thing.
Yeah, so it's like okay, the person that's from the same village. Then like, it became like more nationally, as
Okay,
as people move to a different country. But that's what the word we use. And
okay,
I like that. I like what you said that you can build your own support system even though you're alone
mm,
in a different country.
yeah.
And because most people, they're afraid of asking help.
Oh yeah, I understand. Honestly, I understand that people are afraid to ask for help because many times we think that we look weak when we ask for help. It's wrong to think that, and it's something that you can't really control. The fact that you feel like, oh, I feel weak, because of course it feels good to do it all by yourself, but is it really possible? It is possible. It's much more difficult. So be smart about it. Ask for help. Always ask for help. That's my suggestion. Big suggestion. If I would have not asked for help, I would have been a very, like, honestly, I would have probably never graduated. Right when I was having a difficulty filling out papers for college, it was hard. So I had to ask some American friends who told me how to fill out certain spaces, small things, right? But you need to reach out. Try to not be shy, because what I thought myself to motivate myself to go out there and ask for help was, this is for your future. It might seem a lot, it might seem big just to ask for the question or ask for help, but this is true. If you tell yourself, if I just go out and ask for help, this will help me, it will happen 100%, because it's like, it all depends on what you do, on your action, on the small things. That's how you build big things, by small. So ask for small help from everyone, and you will build something out of it. That's what I always think.
Yeah, I like that. Incremental improvements.
Incremental
Yeah, because
improvements.
people always has this idea like, oh, they'll see a mountain and they're like, I'm gonna reach the top of the mountain without any practice, without any training. They'll
Oh,
just do it instead of, oh, today I'm gonna walk 1 kilometer, tomorrow two, tomorrow three.
it takes a lot of imagination.
Yeah, exactly. So I read that apparently you're a consistent Dean's lister at your school, in your college.
Where
Don't
did you
worry
read that?
about it.
I did see some private mode visits on my LinkedIn, I have to say.
I found ways.
You're a good investigator, I have to say.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, I did. Yeah, I was in the dean's list every semester. I always had I was always very lucky to meet professors who inspired me during the courses, and also I was very lucky to have had the time to choose something that I love,
Mm-hmm.
law, and more specifically criminal law. That's what I specialized in. And so that's studying that, something that you love and you're very passionate about, helps a lot. So in my studies, I tended to be very focused,
Mm-hmm.
especially because I know how much was at stake. I know how much was working towards it to support myself and everything. So there was a lot coming in, and I was ready to do anything in order to reach my goal. And also because I knew that, especially in the US, results in terms of numbers matter, unfortunately. And this is, we can have a long discussion about the grading system and acceptance to masters and work, and all of these things. There is a big social issue, in my opinion, there. But that will be another conversation. I think what matters here is that I felt a lot of weight on my shoulders, so I was ready to really do everything I could in order to make sure I was on top of myself.
Mm-hmm. And I also read that you used to volunteer in a soup kitchen.
I did. Yeah. The Father's Help Ministry is in the East Village. And basically, what I did, because what happened is that before being admitted to the college where I ended up graduating, John Jay College, I did attend for 2 semesters another college, which is Monroe College. And their campuses were between the Bronx and New Rochelle. So that was my first college experience in the US, because there was a whole bureaucratic thing behind CUNY that I wasn't able to fix. So, it was difficult basically to prove my grades in Italian. So I had to go to Moreau College. And in Moreau College, there were a lot of volunteering opportunities during the weekend. In the morning. So what I did is I participated with this group of students to go at the Father's Help Ministries, where we used to cook breakfast for homeless, and it was a great experience. I met a lot of people, and especially it felt very good. It was definitely worth spending that time with people who were in need at the time, and especially where I got to hear some very amazing stories about people. We never stop when we rush at work and we see people on the street just sitting, and they have amazing stories. We're just not willing to listen. Why? Because we think we're better than them. So there is a lot to say about that. But yeah, I did volunteer
Yeah.
in New York. I
Yeah.
did my share of volunteering.
I like what you said about homeless people, that we think that we're better than them, and we think they're drug addicts. We think,
Yeah,
they're useless in the society, not knowing that they were one mistake away from being you.
exactly. And probably not even probably not even a mistake, right? It's like these people, they just did something that society perceives to be wrong. Then we will fall into interpretation of what is wrong and what is good, and it's a whole philosophical, and I don't want to get into
Oh,
that
I'm not gonna
conversation,
argue.
but
You studied law. I don't know nothing.
no, believe me, that's another also conversation. Degrees don't define your knowledge. 100%. It's your life that defines you.
Yeah, as the guy that didn't Lister and finished all those degrees and whatnot. So after New York, you decided to move to Paris. Why?
There were a lot of factors that weighted into my decision to move to France. So the first thing is that in 2017, I started dating a girl who,
Oh,
I'm
you fell
currently
for
with.
one of those.
Yes, a good one.
Oh, good. Congratulations.
And thank you. And so I'm currently living with her in Paris. And she was moving to Geneva. She graduated 1 year before me, so it was 2017. She graduated in 2017. I would have graduated in 2018. So what happened is that she left in June of 2017. At the time, I didn't really think to move to Paris, because I won a scholarship to prepare for the LSAT. I'm sure you know about the LSAT. For those who do
No,
not know,
please tell us.
okay. So the LSAT is the law school admission test. Is a standardized test, a very wrong way to assess a candidate, in my opinion, and it can be very difficult. And law schools require the LSAT as one of the scores to submit along with the remaining documents for an application. So it's very difficult, the LSAT, especially for someone who doesn't speak English as a mother tongue. But that was not the barrier at all. I won the scholarship and I did the course, so I was ready to do it and I actually booked for an exam. I paid $180 as a fee for the exam, not reimbursable. And then I went to her home country during the summer, I remember, to Ghana to visit her. And there, for some reason, I started thinking, okay, what if with the visa it's not going to work? What if I also want to do something else? What if it's going to be easier if I just don't stay in the US? Why? Because I started asking myself, let's say that I get into law school, and let's say that I get a pretty nice admission, right? But then I had to renew my visa. That was the time that I had to renew my 5-year visa. Student visa. And there was a very high chance, in my opinion, that they would have rejected it.
Why?
It happens. It has happened to people I know. Just because when you get a F1 visa, it's a non-immigrant visa. You get the visa to get your education and get out of the United States. That's why it's called a non-immigrant visa, according to the law. And in fact, when you do your interview, there is a mutual understanding between you and the person who is sending out the visa that once you finish your studies in the US, your objective is to go back to your country. Right? Otherwise, you would have gotten an immigrant visa. So I did my 5 years, and going to law school, it's very specific. Why? Because going to law school, it means that then you will have to take the bar, to pass the bar in a specific state. And that means that your objective is to immigrate to the US, right? To stay in the United States. Now, a lot of people did it. But I didn't really want to play with chance for the simple reason that it would have been a big loss if I would have been admitted. I would have spent a lot of money in application fees and everything. It would have been a pretty big investment. And then if I would have been rejected the visa, I would have not been able to go back to the US. And it would have been very difficult logistically and also psychologically. So what I did is I didn't take the LSAT, even if I prepared and everything. What I did is I started applying also to universities in Europe for a master's program, which would allow me to work more in public management and risks related to public management. Because at the end, what I thought also of is not why did I want to get into law? It's because I had this passion about anti-corruption. That was my big thing, and has always been, it still is my field of work nowadays. So I thought, what could actually help me work in anti-corruption, but still not require me to have a JD, a Juris Doctorate, and pass the bar in the US. And that was a master's degree in Europe. There were various master's programs. One of them at Hertie School of Governance, another one at the Graduate Institute in Geneva, and then I applied in Paris at Sciences Po. And then I got into 2 of my 3 options in Berlin at Hertie and at Sciences Po, and I decided to go to Sciences Po because it was a very unique program, international public management with a focus on global risks and European studies. So I had a chance to look at European law, global risks. So I had a chance to also focus a bit on corruption. And also the international public management was a very nice curriculum in terms of what I was going to study. And so, and also I thought about the European Union kind of idea, like what it gave me as opportunities, because it would have been easier to work, to find a job. I was going to learn another language that I eventually learned. So there were a lot of factors. Definitely also my girlfriend who moved to Europe. So that made us closer. She was living in Geneva then. So we were much closer than New York, Geneva. And so, yeah, that's why I moved. And then I got in. And right after graduating in May 2018, in June, I went to Paris, and yeah, I got a job in Paris, and then I started my master's.
Nice. How do you find Paris? By the way, do you
I
speak French
don't.
before you moved?
Oui, oui, je parle français. I speak French.
Where did you learn?
I learned. I learned it actually the hard way. I didn't really speak French, so it was very hard. But during my master's program, I took some French courses, not very in depth. I worked in a French startup, but they spoke English, but there was some interactions in French. And then when I did my internship in the company where I actually work today, it was fully in French, and the expectation was that I would have gotten my first contract also if I developed my French. So working in a French environment definitely helped me get my French to a good level. Not say excellent, but good.
Hey, it passes better than my French for sure.
I don't know. It's no, it's a. I can work with it. I can do everything with it. But it's still not your mother tongue, right? And I consider now my mother tongue to almost not mother tongue, but the tongue that I prefer to be English. Since I did my university studies with it, so I was able to master my English much more, also than Italians on some level.
Better than your Italian?
Italian, yeah, you have to think that I pretty much stopped studying Italian when I was 19,
Yeah,
right?
it goes away.
So
It goes
it goes
away.
away. And it's awkward sometimes, especially when I work, we have conversation about, okay, how good is your Italian, right? In a professional environment. It's good. I can have a professional conversation in Italian. It just that, it won't be everything perfect all the time because there will be times where you will just slick in an English word. So,
Yeah, I
it's
understand.
inevitable.
I remember when I used to work with this old lady. She's German, and I was talking to her and I said, "Yo, teach me some German words. What's the German word for this?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. I forgot." I'm like, I was young then. I was very young, and she's an old lady. And I said, "How could you forget something? It's like riding a bike, right? You'll always remember."
No.
Fast forward a few years, I'm living here in Canada. There are Filipino words. I'm like, I don't even know the word.
Right? It's so awkward when you go on Google Translate and you translate from English to your language. I do it like I hide myself sometimes when I do that, It and sometimes also my girlfriend asks me for translation and it's so awkward when we're in Italy and I really sometimes I don't know what to do. So it's nice to hear that I'm not the only one.
No, it goes away. It goes away, and
Yeah.
sometimes I talk to my friends that are from the Philippines, still lives in the Philippines, and when I say, "Oh," because they'll say, "Oh, why do you continue speaking English? Just speak Filipino to us," and I'll say, "Because my brain is designed
Yeah,
now or programmed now to speak English."
100%. And you also think in English most of the time.
Yes, exactly. Once in a
Yeah.
while, a lot of people will say when you get angry or scared, whatever word comes out first, that will still be your mother tongue, as they say.
Mhm.
For me, it's like 90%, maybe higher than that. It's mostly English.
100%. 100%.
Do you dream in English?
I do.
Exactly.
I
See,
do.
that's
I
it.
admit it. I'm really admitting it right now on this call. So yeah, first time I'm admitting it.
Yeah.
It's pretty awkward, but I admitted it.
Why?
Yeah. No, I'm joking.
I know. I mean, I still love speaking Filipino. I do. Whenever I have a chance to speak, let me backtrack a little bit, because with my family I still speak in English most of the time, but when it's a
Okay.
some but it's a person that's from the Philippines and I know they speak Filipino, I will speak Filipino.
Sounds good.
It has a different thing. It speak, I don't know what
You
it.
can control it. You can control it. It's just
Exactly.
automatic. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like when you listen to music in
Hmm.
Italian or me in Filipino.
Yeah,
I love English songs, but when I've played Filipino songs, it's something.
it is. And I do feel emotional sometimes. I start appreciating more the words of Italian songs, I have to say. Sometimes I start really listening to the text. Yeah, it's yeah,
You're getting
I
old.
agree. Oh yeah,
That's what it
100%.
is.
That's what
You're
I heard.
you're being emotional. You're being more. I don't
It's
like
ridiculous.
using. Oh,
Yeah, sometimes it's crazy how you get emotional over small things. But
it
yeah, it's
changes. It
a
changes.
lot.
It's you change a lot. You catch yourself. I don't know about your relationship with your dad or your mom, but sometimes
Hmm.
you catch yourself like I'm turning into them.
Yeah, I definitely am turning into my parents. I can 100% say that.
Because
You
I love
know,
that when we're growing up. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I tried to separate myself from them. You know what I mean? Like you want to be your own.
when you're an adolescent, yeah, teenage years, 100%. I think we all have that vibe, right?
Yeah.
Although no, I have to say, I always wanted to be like them. So has been I don't know. It's yeah, I always wanted to be like them. You know.
Do you enjoy getting old?
Well, thing is that I look at I remember, I have memories of my grandparents and also my only grandmother who is still living, and they enjoy, they enjoy being who they are and who they've become, and that's my goal, right? It's
Hmm.
like where you really enjoy yourself, you know who you are, and I think that's something that you build with experience and life, and we like that's what I see as happiness. Then other people might have other perceptions of what happiness is and must be look like, but it's yeah.
Yeah. Talking about happiness, I like what you said about happiness and your grandparents. I'm assuming your grandparents never moved away from Italy.
uh no, they did not. They did the My grandfather did go around a bit, from what I heard, but most of the time he stayed in. No, actually, no, he did not. It was actually the brothers and sisters of my grandmother who they all emigrated pretty much.
Hmm.
Some left very very young. Some they left and never returned. So it's definitely, yeah. He did not move. Like he stayed. My grandparents actually stayed in Italy, in my village. So yeah, no, definitely, it's
Yeah.
different experiences
So
on that.
going on that, what's your opinion? You know how people, oh, you have to travel to find happiness and all this stuff. And then a great example is your nonna and your grandpa. They never
Hmm.
move, and they're happy.
That's the thing. It's like, especially with social media, we tend to have the idea that traveling is not traveling, but like moving away is the source of happiness, which is so untrue. And I'll tell you this as one of the co-founders of the Overseas Dream, right?
Hmm.
No, it's not like that. Like, it's exactly not like that. That's also not what we are trying to say with the Overseas Dream. Actually, what we are saying with the Overseas Dream is also like, you need to know if you want to do it, and the moment that you're unhappy, you have to feel good also going back,
Hmm.
because each and one of us has his or her or their own dreams, right? It's so specific to each person. So to me, no, definitely you might need to travel, definitely, like, travel a bit for leisure, right? For vacations and whatever you want or need to do. Do that also to open your mind. But if you don't want to do it, it's also totally fine. Nobody, like, it doesn't have so much pressure, peer pressure from social media and all the exposure we get to people who leave their countries and expose everything they do. We should not feel that pressure. You just, if it's something that calls you, do it. Otherwise, why? Why would
Hmm.
you do that to yourself? It's a lot of sacrifice, and you leave your loved ones pretty much. You change your life.
Yeah,
Why would you do that to yourself?
I agree. It's just very difficult. I asked that question because it's one of the questions that I've been really pondering for the last few years. Because most of my family, like your family, we have moved. My aunts, my cousins, and everyone. I have actually family in Italy, in
Okay.
in Milan.
Hi, Milano, nice.
Yeah, so them, some are here in Canada. but we have family, or my aunt lives in the same town where she was born,
Mhm.
and she's not thinking of moving at all. And I asked her one time, like, "Yo, are you not planning to move? Like, find things, do things. What's your plan?" And she's like, "No, I'm happy here."
It makes a lot of sense to me.
You know what I mean? Like,
It
very
makes a lot.
simple.
It's fine. It's I know people who friends of mine who want to stay in Montesarchio, and it's very nice, especially because they feel the drive to improve the community, do something for the place where we grew up, and they offered us so much.
Mhm.
Do it. Honestly, I respect a lot that as well. It's choices. I respect in people when they they don't really let themselves influence by others. I know it's difficult, so honestly, if you manage to find yourself among all this craziness and nonsense that people try to impose on you, like those motivational talks, like you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to leave your country, you have to invest in this, just do whatever you want, right? And if you're convinced about it, you'll live a nice life. I'm telling you, because you'll be happy.
Yeah, I agree that, and I think you let me touch a little bit on what you said. Is like, it's not the place where you live. It's not what you're doing. It's what's inside you. What makes you happy. Find out what makes you happy,
Yeah,
and just do that, dude. Whatever it
yeah,
is. If you like to be a farmer, you wanna be a goat herder, you wanna be, I don't know, a big hotshot CEO. Just find your happiness, dude.
100%.
So, since you have moved twice, do you find
Yeah.
you're more open to immigrating or moving again?
Uh, yeah. I take that. I take the decision lightly, but also with the awareness that is not that easy. It's not easy, and France proved me that very hard because basically, especially with the language, I feel that when you are starting to live in a country where you don't fully speak the language and where you just learn it, especially when you go ahead with time and age, I think that it can be very difficult and it brings a lot of insecurities. A lot of
What
insecurities
do you mean?
because what happens is that you're not as confident speaking and interacting and living on one language that you don't fully speak as you would be in a language that you mastered. As for me, English and Italian, I speak very good French, right? I can handle my things in French, but I cannot even tell you, how many scams over small things, how many difficulties with the administration over tax papers, over health insurance, paying double for things I could have paid half, uh, lots of things just because of the language, and also the confidence to just speak with the same, say again, confidence as you would in English or in Italian for me, right? I don't have that same confidence all the time in French. I will not be able to, have a full argument with the same quality of argumentation that I will give you in English or in Italian. It will just not happen, in my opinion. I will be able to get to a certain point, but it will end there.
Mm.
So that brings down a lot of your confidence, I think. You start becoming a bit insecure over certain things. It's something that it's fixable. It just I'm not willing to do that because I have priorities. I started putting priorities, but I know that moving again will create again some new insecurities, some new issues. But that's what you're willing to accept to move. Why? Because I don't like to be an habituary person. I love to be dynamic and change my life a bit. I think that change helps for me. For other people, it doesn't, and that's totally fine. But that's why I'm very open to immigrate because I'm willing to accept all these challenges, and it's very hard though. So that's what people should be aware. It's very hard, and I tend to have very bad arguments with people who tell me it's not that big of a deal. It's a big deal, and
What
people who have
do
not
they
done
say?
it, I've heard people saying, it's just it's not that, like, it's not that difficult. Like once you speak the language, gonna be fine. There is a little nuances that you will never experience, you will never know about if you don't live in the country, right?
Mm.
Let's say going to the post office. It can seem that easy, but believe me, once I've sent a package, I don't know where this package is now. So there's a lot of small things that you think are so easy and normal to do is not. And sometimes it's also tiring, right? With technology, you say everything is possible, but it's also tiring, it's very tiring, And in the morning, you're doing your, I don't know, monthly thing to the train or like whatever, small things. It's not easy. It's not easy. I will not be able to explain you in full because now we don't not have in mind all the difficulties I had, and I will make this conversation very long, but what I can tell is that it's not that easy, and people should really try to put themselves in the shoes of others before thinking how easy or hard it is. For me, it is also hard for people who live in their own country and to continue because there are small difficulties that are applicable to any scenario, right? And so that's why I don't judge anyone on this. It's just individual.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I like what you said there, like the little things. It's like the Charles Bukowski poem, The Shoelace. It's
Yeah,
not
the
the big
shoelace.
things. It's the small thing. It's the tying of the shoelace. You got a flat tire. You're drinking
Oh
milk
my
and it
God.
spilled all over your face. You're like, fuck.
I'm sometimes I start when I moved to France, I started getting very like I started having paranoia over small things because I knew how difficult it would have been to deal with the consequences. Once me and my girlfriend we were locked out of the apartment. One of us forgot the key instead of the lock, and so I had to call a serrurier in French, the locksmith, and this guy came and he charged us an incredible amount of money because I didn't know how the system worked. I didn't know that basically when you call an agency, the agency calls another agency, the agency calls another third party.
What
So
the
there is
hell?
an amount of fees that, and especially if you call at night, is twice the amount if you would call instead during the morning. So we ended up paying a huge amount of money. And that's the small things, right? You start getting paranoid because what happens is that you start checking the door 3,000 times if it's closed or not, right? You probably we live at the ninth floor. We go to the zero floor and we're like, oh shit, do we forget the key there? You start freaking out. I don't want that to happen, right? Or when they tell us, call us so that we can discuss more. And you have some people who they don't understand your accent sometimes,
Mm,
so you're not even able to understand why they should refund you that health expense you had because you have an insurance that it's the small things. It might seem easy for people who live in their own country, but it's not, because it just you cannot explain everything, right?
mm.
Sometimes I had to do insurance for my motorcycle. It was a terrible experience. So honestly, it's small things, as you said as well.
Yeah,
Shoelaces applies.
everything. But yeah, I completely agree. Even here in Quebec, we speak French and English. Thankfully, I speak English. French, not so good. But I like what you said that, simple things like going to the dépanneur, you're going to take the metro or whatever else. You're like, oh shit, I have to talk to this guy. I have to ask them question and like, I'm just gonna try to figure it out, and then it's gonna be hard because you couldn't figure it out, and then you're gonna get lost, and then you end up
Exactly.
you end up sending package to Timbuktu somewhere. You know what I mean?
There you go. It has happened to everyone. They just don't want to admit it.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that people you said that people put so much pressure on you that it's easy, dude. Just do the thing. Yeah, because you've been
Yeah.
doing it whole your life. This is my first thing. It's like when I used to work
Yeah.
for when I was younger here, I used to work for a warehouse, and they're talking about like Canadian references. And I'm like, I keep on asking, like, what does that mean? What is that?
Exactly.
And they'll say, how come you don't know? I'm like, I just moved here. I just moved here. I
It's
don't
so
know.
funny. People will take it for granted.
Yeah, they forget. Not that it's their fault, but it
No, no,
happens.
no, no, no. Yeah, it
And
happens.
so it became a joke with them. It was, because I moved here 2003, so I always say, okay, from 2003 and now, you can talk to me about anything about Canadian. 2003 and below, unless it's Alanis Morissette or or Neil Young. Other than that, don't talk to me because I don't know anything.
Totally justifiable.
But yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was a fun experience. But again, like you said, it's like the little things kills you. Just it's like an ocean. It just keeps
100%.
on coming and coming. So, in what ways do you think migration has made you stronger?
It has made me stronger because I've realized that I can count on my individuality. Many times we are scared to be alone. But then when I emigrated, I realized that I'm also perfectly fine when I'm by myself. I do solo trips at occasions, and I enjoy them. And also, you start taking challenges not more easily, but with a better uh, with a better approach. So because you also learn basically to understand how to approach challenges. You learn more about yourself very much. That's what it made me stronger. I learned who I really am. I learned also to discover myself and to talk to myself. It might sound crazy, but I do talk to myself, ask myself questions, because when you emigrate, you are a bit by yourself. You will spend a lot of time by yourself, and that's fine. It's nothing wrong with you, because people will tell you, will ask you at the time, is it because I'm boring that I don't have friends, or because I don't really speak well the language? No, you'll just be by yourself because you're not where you grew up. You won't have your friend come and knock at the door and tell you, let's go out for a walk, because it's not your home country, right?
Yeah.
It's different. I miss that. I miss that a lot, but I learned to really stick to myself and be like, I can do this. It's an individual experience. Yes, I missed a lot of birthday parties. I missed a lot of like occasions, graduations, you name it, right? But it's fine. It's That's where I learned about myself. Learn to be by yourself. It's so important. If you don't, you will be lost when nobody will be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you need to build a strong understanding of your individuality. I know who Eugenio is. I know very well, right? And I know who Eugenio wants to be in the future. You need to be aware also of that, in my opinion.
I love that. I love that. Do you think the Italian Eugenio and the now Eugenio are completely different people, or the other one's just
The
hiding?
19-year-old Eugenio was definitely different from the now Eugenio. I tended to take many things for granted. I was very spoiled as a kid. My parents, they've always given us their full heart and everything to me. And emigrating and going to the US taught me a lot, and also taught myself to come down from the podium where I thought I was standing. Because I was very confident on myself for being the star of myself. In reality, I'm nobody. I was nobody. And that's what you learn when you go out in a country where nobody knows you. Nobody knows who the fuck you are.
Hmm.
So pretty much, I definitely learned to humble down a lot. And also, I consider myself much more open-minded than before. You're never enough open-minded, in my opinion. There are a lot of things you'll never be able to know or understand. But I consider myself much more open-minded to, especially to social issues.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I learned about the idea of privilege, and like the privilege I experience as the person I am, as a white person coming from Italy, European country, and etc. And all things that I was not aware of when I was 19 and when I lived there. I know that many of my friends who live there, they are very aware of certain social issues. And probably I also could have become aware. I don't know if I would have become aware the same way as now, but immigration definitely helped me to be more aware and understand much more things about social issues, about how people have different lives than you, and how you have to learn to respect other people's lives, beliefs, and beings, like who they are and who they want to be. So definitely. And also the only thing that probably has not changed is that I don't appreciate people who put pineapple on pizza. The rest, it's the same.
For sure, for sure. I think we're getting there. But before we close out, I want to ask you one more question. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, take your time.
So, for people that is planning to immigrate, what would you tell them to expect, and what advice would you give them?
The first thing that I will tell to someone who's moving out of their country is to really plan everything to the point, but then also know what's your limit when you can plan. You cannot plan everything, and things will have to happen. Issues happen, problems happen, and that's where emigrating is fun. You learn to really fight your challenges. Second is set your goal. If you have a goal, you have a road, and if you have a road, you know where to walk. So I think you have to have an objective. If it's not too precise, it's fine. You don't need to write it down. You don't need to do none of that. Just have it in mind. And if you can see it, you have it in your hand, in my opinion. So have the objective, and also do not listen too much for people who tell you. I've had many people discouraging me or telling me, why becoming an attorney in the US when you can become an attorney in Italy? Why moving to Italy, to the US when you can stay so nice in Italy, whatever. It's let people share their opinion with you, but then stick with what you really like. Don't take so seriously what everyone tells you. People sometimes will really say anything, and it's not the like many times people they just say things. I don't know why. I can't explain the human mind yet, but what I can tell you is that people will talk. People talk, let them talk, especially talk about you. They never talk about themselves, talk always about what you want to do, your plans. That's what I realized. So just let them talk, but also once they talk, close that part of the ear and just let your art open listen, right? Because you need to basically just listen to what your heart says. And it sounds very abstract. It's true. I never understood that phrasing before, but the more you grow up, the more you start believing what is written in books. And what I understand is that you need to just listen to yourself. That's the biggest suggestion I can give you. Listen to yourself only, and people will discourage you. You will feel demotivated at times. And when you feel the most demotivated, that you're succeeding, in my opinion, because you're really basically going through the hardest challenge there. And once you have a challenge, you always have a more positive thing after. That's always happened. At least to me, that's how I'm interpreting my life. There is a very dark moment. There will be a better one after. You cannot go worse than this. Then it happens. It goes worse. It's fine. It's gonna happen. And one thing is, you will always have problems. You can live even in the best country in the world, have the best job whatsoever. You have the best life. You will always have problems, always. So just learn to deal with them. And if you have difficulties, open yourself up to your support system. Build one if you don't have it. So and build your ecosystem. Ecosystem means find your barber, find your where you do your grocery, find your sport, your community, find whatever you need to feel like you're back home in a certain way, right? But don't make it too much like back home. Otherwise, what did you even need? So unless it's for reasons that people have to leave sometimes their country, so that's different. But definitely, if you leave willingly, that's another discussion, the conversation.
Excellent. Wise word from a wise man. Again, Eugenio, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It was amazing talking to you. It's a really nice podcast that you set up, and especially you know how to talk to people. So thank you for taking the words out of me.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Again, Eugenio, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, listeners, for listening. This is Aaron Deliosa for An Immigrant's Life. I'll see you guys later.